Welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, helping you get to your onward journey. A friendly service that helps you get from A to B, or probably nowhere at all.
Hello and welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast. This is episode 2 of season 5. I'm your host, James, and with me is co-host Oh, you're back. It's Sam. Look what the cat dragged in.
Hello.
How are we?
I'm very good. I am well rested. I'm not. That's a complete lie. You and I had a conversation before this where I don't feel well rested. I have a daughter who swims now, but I have not well rested.
No, that was just the guilt digging in as you were away for a week when you should have been recording.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly selfish of me to have even considered booking something within the summer holidays. Weirdly, in my head, I thought we came back quite late in September last year. I'll have to go back and have a look. But
I think we did, but I think because Joseph wanted to come on to sort of time his episode with the release of his series, we brought it forward a bit. And we've also seemed to be quite bumper packed for people that want to come on the podcast this year. So we've sort of expanded it out, I think, by about 2 weeks or something, which by the schedule we usually go by will fit in no extra guests, probably.
We'll see. It depends whether people suddenly need to get their car tire changed or something like that when we need to record.
That's it. Yeah. People say they come on and then bam. Again.
All I can say is that James's idea for the Christmas special this year is outstanding, and I cannot wait.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to read a book. I'm gonna have to read a book first.
That makes it even more intriguing. I mean, I know what it is, so for me, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But for those at home, thinking that you have to read a book that's not a railway-related book either, in order for us to get this sorted.
Well, is there not a single train in it?
I mean, if there is, I mean, I don't want to give too much away. I was about to say something that would absolutely give it away. But I mean, I'm just very excited for it. How are you?
Well, I think I've lost my eyesight because I have been painting my Linton and Barnstable coaches into a teak livery for the Mid Snowdon Railway because I wanted to have some teak coaches. I thought they looked quite nice with the blue locomotive. So I've been doing that, which is it's a lengthy process. You have to base coat it, and then you have to dry brush the teak colour on top. Then you have to varnish it, and then I was cutting in all the panelling as well because I decided it would look better with the panelling sort of a darker brown cut in around it. And yeah, the brown was a bit too dark, so they went for another shade. But then the paint dried to the same colour as the undercoat because Tamiya paint's quite thin. So then I had to paint that one again. So yeah, my eyes hurt, but they look fantastic now. I'll have to send you a photo. They just need some transfers,
as in just numbers and stuff like that. A little bit like
just a bit of first class, third class, and numbered up. There'll be. I think I worked out they were going to be coach 11 and 12. So I've sort of got the rake starting to build up now because I finished my Rail 200. I finished it. It's done. And it works. The whole thing works. Even the fiddle yard, which was amazing because I didn't think that was going to work. But yeah, I plugged it all together and trains run off the fiddle yard board onto the scenic board. It's all scenically done. But there's one thing I've noticed. When I put the signal box on, I put wire on for all the signals, and I realised I should have put a wire going off the board to where the distance signal would. Well, not the distance signal, it's up here fixed distance. The shunt signal. I should have done a wire going that direction, which is bugging me now. But otherwise, I'm very, very happy with the completed product. And I was like, yes, I've done it. Now I want to take it outside to take some photos because, photographing outside is always much nicer. So I was hoping for a nice evening, a bit of sunshine to sort of shine and make it all look autumnal on my layout as it's set in autumn. And it just keeps raining. So I've got a month to get those photos done. But then again, I keep forgetting to weather my rolling stock. So that's probably a blessing in disguise. Because, done and weathered, but the rolling stock is all pristine and clean, and it's very obvious now. So, but yeah, that's where I am. So I've done that, and now I've moved back onto the 009. I'm very happy to be 009 modelling again, apart from losing my eyesight. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Hobby wise, I guess if you've been living under a rock over the summer, I set myself a challenge of getting the loop finished, and I did it. The
You did?
layout is continuous now. It goes round and round in a circle, and I'm
Yeah.
very happy with that.
Just in time to run your J50 on it when it arrives on the boat in 2 weeks.
I did see about the steam locos coming. I was like, when's the 37 coming? I really am at that point where I am considering a 66, not to pull freight, although it would look good on tankers.
Could you not convert one to a 59?
I could, but I'd have to repaint it into Yeoman, wouldn't I?
Or ARC if that's a bit easier.
Mm.
The light clusters might be a bit closer on the 59 one.
Would you be able to tell in TT? Asking for a friend.
I'm sure Danny would spot the difference instantly. But I think, considering the scale and what it is and the limitations that present it to you, I think maybe you could get away with painting a 66 into a 59.
To be honest, I really love it. It's more of I love the Evening Star livery on the 66. And I think it looked beautiful. And weirdly, it wasn't until I saw it in person I thought how much I love it. But anyway, that's a different topic.
It's a very nice livery, and also it will be coming back out in O gauge and N gauge or whatever now because GBRF had it re-geared, so it's got a different number now. So that's an excuse for the Evening Star to return.
Fantastic. That's what I like to hear.
I'm sure you've done that deliberately.
But yeah, in terms of, I'm just really happy to have trains running again and being able to see big, long, full HSTs booting it up the incline and then going down the sort of the curved incline. That it's nice having two very different styles of incline on the layout. And where my desk now sits, I can effectively look left and see the fiddle yard and the sort of the big, long, straight incline, or I can turn right and I can see down the loft is where the station area goes, and then it off goes and does the big curved incline, goes on the overpass, and then just goes behind me. So meetings are going to be interesting if I'm ever on one again. Having trains just running in the background.
I mean, during the pandemic, there was a lot worse that appeared on people's Zoom meetings. Well, I would say worse, depends on your opinion, really, what was going on in the background.
I mean,
my favorite one. I didn't see it, but the one with the husband who's got the mirror behind him, and the wife thought it'd be funny to flash him.
I didn't know about that one. Oh, that sounds great.
Good times, 2020. Good times.
I'll tell you what is interesting though. So the Mark 1 and the Mark 3. I don't know if I should save this for our main segment because I'm talking a lot about TT. So let's wrap up the intro. I've had a very good time.
Yes, indeed, yes. Because this week we thought with Hornby's announcements over the summer, we thought we would talk TT. So we can talk about that in a minute. But there was something I didn't talk about last week. It was Steve's fault. It was his job to talk about it. He completely forgot. There's some T-shirts, isn't there?
Oh, you did that brilliantly. Well done. Good scapegoat. Yes, we did finally over the summer to sort of help people in the lack of MERP. We finally opened our online store via Redbubble. So Redbubble, if you don't know, is a t-shirt manufacturing company who effectively you can design a t-shirt and you can put it on t-shirts, hoodies, phone cases, and all this sort of stuff. And they print it for you. So for me and James, it actually makes our jobs a lot easier because we don't have to worry about posting it, making sure the quality is good. Redbubble do it for you, and it is usually a fantastic t-shirt. So you can now get MERP. There's a plethora of merchandise available on the Redbubble website. So redbubble.co.uk or .com, depending where you are in the world. And if you search Model Rail Replacement Podcast, you will find all of our stuff on there. Now, for the first month, so this is as of the 1st of October, I'm going to switch this over because that helps with our dates. We're doing an introductory offer where the prices are as low as we can physically make them. And that is simply so that all of our Merpers can get as many products as they possibly want within the first month. And then so that James and I can start putting money towards other things, we will slightly increase the price. So think of it as an introductory offer where the first iPhone or something like that comes out and you get it for slightly cheaper. I know that's not a thing, but imagine that they did. That's how we're going to be doing it. So over the next month, rush out and buy yourself some merchandise. See, that's marketing. Merchandise.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Someone got a bucket hat.
I thought that because I get the email that says, "Oh, you've made a sale," and effectively it tells you what somebody's ordered, size, and all that sort of stuff. And it was Matt from Matt's Maritime and Rails buying a Kevin and Perry bucket hat that says Merp on it.
Large. We appreciate it. Yes, all the Merp support is very nice.
And that is something that we did have is during the first, when we opened it, obviously we shared it to Instagram and Instagram went crazy on it. The amount of people who have shared getting their t-shirts and stuff like that has been amazing. So thank you so much. We had one shared this morning. Someone went to a model show in Australia wearing a Merp t-shirt. So thank you very much for that. That certainly made us feel good.
Who do you think they're impersonating, me or you?
I'm not entirely sure because they, I think they're okay with me saying this. They had less hair than you and I, and they were wearing glasses and no beard, which I find it very difficult considering you and I look almost exactly the same according to everyone else. That the beard and the longer hair is probably the first thing that you need.
Merp t-shirts. I hope to see them at lots of model shows now. So
let's hope so.
Just fill our egos up. We just walk around and just there's one, there's another one. Look at that.
I did have to turn it so I can turn on and off certain items, and I think the world is a better place for the fact that I turned off the Merp leggings because nobody needs to see someone in gym leggings covered in Merp all over them. So you're welcome.
I would have worn them, but never mind.
Yeah, but you can purchase them. I can order them for you via our store. I don't think the world needs real life people wearing Merp leggings.
Fair enough. Well, that's enough of that. Can we talk TT?
Yes, let's.
Not Tom's Tank, TT120.
Wilson? Wilson!
Yes, sir?
Is everything set for His Majesty's arrival?
Yes, sir. The chefs are preparing the banquet, and his room is prepared.
And the model room as per his request?
Yes, sir. The models are all out on display.
Your Majesty, welcome to my humble abode. Yes, very good, old sport. Come on, let's play trains. Absolutely, Your Majesty. What's this? Something wrong, Your Majesty? These locos, they're so clean, so fresh, like they're straight out of the box. All cleaned up for your arrival. Oh no, my dear boy, you know what I want. I want it dirty. Dirty? Show me your dirty shunter. Okay, here you go. Oh yes, that's the stuff. Who made this filth?
It was Emperor's Path, Your Majesty.
I think I'll have to make a royal appointment myself, and still have some change to buy my new helicopter.
You can get your models weathered by Emperor's Path using just the airbrush for a light dusting, or alternatively, oil paints and airbrush to add that extra depth. Contact Emperor's Path on Instagram at emperors_path, or alternatively, emperorspathcontact@gmail.com.
Emperor's Path? I'm the only emperor around here.
Right then, as we said just before we went to the break, Hornby announced a few more models over the summer, and this got me thinking because I think what was it, October 22 or something like that when TT range was announced.
It was it was certainly sometime around then. Like I don't think we've had. I'm completely confused now when it was, but yeah, it's been around only a couple of years.
It's not been very long, has it? And there was a lot of naysayers, and it will never last. It's not. It's just a silly idea and all that. But here we are. We're a couple of years down the line, and we've got a few locos that are already out, a few that have been announced, a couple that are on the way, and those all announcements. You got me thinking. Is it a dead scale, or is there something you can actually model with it now? Is there enough to model with it? So I thought maybe we could just talk about a few ideas of what you could model with the current offerings in TT.
I'm very glad that you suggested it because I never wanted it to be a case of that we suddenly went to TT only within the podcast. But I genuinely think it's a good discussion topic because the thing that I get on my videos is people saying about how they're unsure about jumping into TT because they don't know where or how or what they can model. I think with TT, there's certainly a little bit where you're going to have to develop some skills quickly in order to model it on a larger scale. But yeah, let's talk about it. Where would you like to start?
Well, I think we should start with, I say the most obvious, because obviously when TT was introduced, we had the A3 and the A4 for East Coast mainline steam, sort of the mainstays of any Hornby range, I suppose. So how about Stoke Bank on the East Coast mainline, which is just a very, very simple layout, I think. Are you familiar with Stoke Bank? I know you don't like the A4s, but do you know... Do you know its significance?
I am aware of the significance. It was definitely part of the line where Mallard broke the speed record, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just a very, very plain, simple piece of line. I think back then there was maybe a relief line to the London line going in the up direction, if I recall off the top of my head. But I thought, if you wanted to start off something simple, but you quite like these large Pacific locomotives, then, you want to get the A1s, you want to get the A4s, which there's plenty in the range. Then Stoke Bank might be quite ideal for it.
Yeah.
And that's just for starters with the A3 and A4, because you've got offerings in, if you're quite happy to sort of stretch out your modelling period as well. You just want to do BR, then you've got like the likes of Express BR Blue all the way to BR Lake Crest. You can get the Mark 1s to go with it. You've got the Pullman cars on offer. And you can also, eventually add the Hellion Deltic as well. So there's sort of a bit of a range starting off there if you want the Expresses on there. And then if you want to model other things, obviously Hornby offer an LNR brake van if you can get hold of one.
That is like rocking horse doo-doo at the moment.
My Lord, I think I saw one had gone for £90 on eBay the other day, which is just crazy. So, if any of the manufacturers are listening, I think TT modelers would like another brake fan rather soon. But yeah, you've got that. You've got the various wagons on offer. I mean, obviously, Pico have announced some additionals with their mineral wagons and the vans, and you've got Hornby's offerings as well. We've got the green Class 37, so that you could hook that up to the freight train. You've got to run a bit of freight in there. The J50, which we mentioned, is due very shortly. You could put that in the passenger working. You could also those four-wheel coaches. I know they're technically Southern. Be no harm in putting a couple of them behind the J50 if you just want a little local stopping service, right?
Yeah, I think they certainly suit it quite well. Would BR Mark 1s work behind it as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. They were quite powerful locomotives. So, I think we use pilot duties, so they would be removing the big heavy trains out of King's Cross Station, wherever they're based, like around York, I suppose. So yeah, be no harm in 2 or 3 Mark 1s behind it. It was running a stopping service. I think you could model something like that, and then you've got the green 08 as well, and they're more confined to yards, but there's no reason why it could be on a little trip working. I mean, it does a maximum of 15 mile an hour, but that just gives the excuse if you build a loop onto the track. You sort of got got something going on. And so yeah, I thought that might be a good idea to start off with. You know, for anyone considering that quite likes East Coast mainline steam. Just it's simple. There's no stations. There's no requirement for buildings, because obviously buildings are a bit of an issue of TT, because if you don't want what Hornby offer, which I think is mostly Settle and Carlisle at the moment, you're a bit limited. I mean, there's laser cutters and 3D printers that do TT size buildings. So you know, if you shop around, I'm sure you can find something. But I thought this one would be a good starter.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing a very scenic area like that. It definitely gives you, and I mean, you're preaching to the choir. It gives you that option of having a round and round or a tail chaser layout where you have. I mean, I'm physically looking at mine now, and I've managed to fit a giant fiddle yard and a 6th radius 4-track mainline effectively in a 4-foot area, and you could easily have a nice big scenic section at the front. And I'm working with 14 foot on that particular area, and you could really do some nice stuff by having some steam trains just booting it along and just doing some really nice scenic work on there, yeah, easily. And the fact that you can fit that many tracks in a 4-foot section, and I'm saying that you've got plenty of space to play with in that area as well. So yeah, I mean, how many lines did they run on that particular area? Is it two?
I'm sure someone will correct me. I'm sure when I've seen a diagram of it, it's 2 running lines, and then as I say, like a loop or relief line to the London cycle extent. I think around that point it went from 4-track to 2-track, but every now and again it goes to 3-track either side of the line, kind of thing.
Yeah,
if I recall.
Almost like one that would run in the middle that could be used for either, and then your outside lines would be your fast or just your general lines.
That's kind of like how Tom's the Tank do it, and that annoys me on the TV show. That'd just be a nightmare for signalling. But yeah, no, you'd have your up and down line, and then you'd have a relief line to the side of one of the fast lines, just to sort of get a train out of the way. And then I assume for space constraints with the East Coast, like you may have the up relief, and then that would go back into the up fast, and then on the other side you'd have a down relief next to the down fast. So you sort of got these relief lines sort of staggered in place. If I'm thinking it right, should have researched this before we've done this. Stoke Bank is 3 lines with two fast lines and a relief line, if I recall.
Okay.
But there's no reason why you can't have relief lines on either side, because that also makes it interesting, especially if you sort of done it as loops where they come back into the fast lines. Because then obviously you can hold a train at the signal, bring it onto the seat, hold it at the signal, and then run a fast one through, and then leave it a minute or two and have the slow train follow. Don't have the slow train follow immediately after the other one's just passed over the points. That's also not how signalling works. But
hey, we're not talking signalling this week. Well, I guess we could be. Okay, so let's talk about if you wanted to move it forward in era, because this sounds like a really nice area that you could model on. But let's say, for example, steam's not your bag. Which actually, I just want to say, at the moment, there are some fantastic steam TT deals on places like Rails and TMC, where they are selling the locos, the coaches, and the actual train set part of the train sets all separately for disgustingly good prices. So
they were like 3 hours too late to get Lenny because we just gone to Tony's trains and he spent all his money in there. And we got home and I saw that and I was like, ooh, that would have been a lot better deal.
It's a very good time to get into TT if you're into steam, for sure. And I think especially the fact that the two of the main train sets, or 3 actually, if you look at the fact that the intercity one, they're all perfectly suitable for that neck of the woods. And I mean, if you can repaint or you can renumber, then you might be in luck with these sets and being able to get locos at a ridiculously good price, because I've seen some of the prices on them, and this is going to shock people. I nearly bought a Mallard, or I nearly bought an A4 because of how cheap they were, and I was like, I've got enough Mark 1s that I could just have it booting around. I was like, but I don't think I can do that to myself.
What? Why not? I mean, Sir Nigel Gresley would probably be your best option, although it's got its balances on the one they've announced, I think. Because that was obviously around your era that you're modelling. That would have been perfect for a rail tour. I mean, you used to run out of Marylebone like every Sunday going to Stratford. But you're right. If you're not into steam, obviously there are diesel options. So you've got like the transition period. So you could mix the green and blue diesels, which is probably one of the better ways to get a more varied range at the moment. So you could have the blue and the green Deltics that Helion are doing. The 37, obviously been offered in green, but there's no reason why you can't get those 37s resprayed into plain BR blue. Like there's companies out there that will do that for you. There's the 08. Again, you can have the blue 08 and the green 08. I mean, if you can get hold of a blue 08, I know they've announced another blue 08, but that's kind of sort of a celebrity 08, which was that. I'll be honest, that annoyed me a little bit. Because it's like everyone wants a blue 08, and they're like, here it is, and it's like you've picked a celebrity one. It's just, which is annoying at the moment because you just want a generic one. I think everyone just wants generic. The celebrities can come later, kind of thing. Well, I don't know. That's I'm sure people will get around that, but and then you've got the Class 122, which probably aren't quite right for the East Coast Main Line, but as they're the only DMU currently being offered, I don't know. You could have a couple of them running up and down the line, sort of on the local train. If you wanted to do something like that.
Yeah, I love the idea of having all of the different things moving, and you have so much scope for. You could start off with maybe a dog bone style layout where you effectively have the 4 lines running together and they go off, out, curve around, and then come back again. And if that's the sort of space that you're working with, you could easily use that to your advantage to as much in a small space, but you can really fit a lot, especially if they're parallel lines together in a very, very small space in TT. And I think it would be a really nice thing to have that sort of, like, I know you said about the 08s being more yard based and stuff like that, but you could easily have a decent sized platform that's running, let's say 5 or maybe even 4 coaches. And you can have your branch line services going off, and whatever era that you pick, you can fit a lot in a very small space. I guess one of the things I always found difficult when it came to modeling was the width of the layout that you were using, not necessarily the length, because you can if you can pick a layout for a wall, if you're lucky, you can really do some great things, but it's how far off the wall can you come out? And I think 4 foot generally tends to be the sort of size that people are willing to come out on a layout. Is that right? Would you agree?
Yeah, no, yeah. That's the space is your limit, I suppose, isn't it?
But you can do so much, and just the idea of doing those long passenger trains, sort of going round and round, or just sort of going at speed up and down. I think you've got some great ideas there with what you can do with it. But obviously, it's well known. I'm not necessarily a big LNER or East Coast kind of guy. So if you were going to move out from East Coast, what other things do we have?
Well, I mean, I did actually have a few more suggestions on the East Coast.
Oh, let's go for it then. Go because it's very clear that TT is heavily East Coast based at the moment. So I'm happy to hear more about what's on offer.
It is actually because I did try and look at West Coast, which we can talk about that one in a minute. But I sort of thought about a few other ideas of what you could do with the East Coast stuff. And I say you've got the transition period, which is probably your best one for catered for. You can use your red Mark Ones behind the BR blue diesel. They weren't that common, but they were still kicking about. And it's kind of acceptable. But again, if you wanted blue and greys, I'm sure Hornby will eventually release some, but you can just get them resprayed if you can find someone. There's a lot of repainting involved in TT at the moment, which is probably what attracted you to it. But yeah, you can do you could model just the Deltics themselves, reigning supreme, with Mark II coaches behind them. Just the BR Blue ones. You could even have it at the period where the HST is being introduced and the Deltics were coming to sort of the end of their career. There's that option there. there's there's a few things. You can just about squeeze into the 80s as well. I think with the HSTs, again, you can get there with the Class 37 on your freight in the BR large logo blue. The Hellion 122 would be again your choice for DMU. Your BR Blue 08. You can have the Intercity Swallow HST or the blue and grey. Again, they sort of were very mixed variety around that time as the liveries transitioned. And if you really want to squeeze it in, you could probably get a Class 50 in there as well. You know, they didn't run on the East Coast, but sometimes I think with this scale, compromise is a big word for such a small scale. If you just want that bit of variety, you could probably even squeeze Flying Scotsman in there because, you know, while steam was sort of banned in the 70s, I think Scotsman was sort of one of the locomotives that managed to get away with being run on the main line. So
I genuinely didn't realise it was banned.
Yeah. BR wanted to move away from that steam image, so it was all banned on the main line for a number of years. But I think because Flying Scotsman was a privately owned engine, they somehow managed to still run Flying Scotsman on the main line. So, you know, if you go in sort of 70s, you could probably just squeeze at the LNR Flying Scotsman. You could probably try and model the tender behind it as well. You know, and have the water carrier tender. But yeah, it's funny you say because East Coast is very much catered because I don't think it's very well catered for that 80s and 90s modeler because you've got like the HST Swallow and the large logo 37. You could probably like put some of the TTAs behind it, but that's probably about it for that era.
Yeah, it's weird because they brought out the Mark IIs in the Intercity and the blue and grey, and it feels like if you're modelling West Coast, then you've got the 50s to go with it.
Even then, by the 80s, the 50s had moved over to the Western region. It's a bit of it's a bit of an odd one. It's sort of when it gets to more once you sort of move away from the BR Blue era, things start to get a bit difficult to model, I think. East Coast mainline and West Coast mainline, I'd say. Obviously, we've got the G and the R HST coming, and you have the Intercity Swallow. And Intercity Swallow, that livery survived into privatisation for years. Like, trains were not repainted as quick as they sort of seem to be these days. You know, depending where you modelled it as well. If you didn't want to do like Stoke Bank, you moved it further up north. You could probably get the cross country HST in there and sort of model that one if you're sort of on a working from Newcastle or something like that, going towards Birmingham maybe. You know, it's there's options. There's definitely options, and then you've got the EWS and the BR large logo 37s that you can use, and that particular large logo 37 wore that livery well into the 2000s as well, because I saw James Martin, who does eventually will have a layout called Didcot Parkway. Loftus Road is the other one. His club layout. He does a lot of modelling on and puts these like weather logos on. He's very, very good weatherer, and he has that particular logo in 00 gauge, and he had photos from when it been Didcot Yard. So I know it's definitely worn that into the 2000s. So not much for the 90s, but there's definitely a lot for privatisation. There's potential there.
Okay, yeah. So we've got an era where we're struggling a little bit, and I think that is possibly one of obviously speaking as someone who's modelling that era, it does feel like there is a bit of a gap there. Whilst the Eastern stuff seems to have come out with a lot of things, you do feel like there's certain areas that aren't catered for as well. But so how do we move around that?
Well, I don't know. It's got to be difficult for manufacturers, isn't it? Because you can't satisfy everyone all at the same time. Although I think a pannier would have pleased a lot.
I think you really nailed it when you said about how when Hornby first came out with the Triang range, how it's still in the steam era, so they were modelling a very few amount of locomotives. We're now in an era where not only are you trying to model what's about, but also the last 200 years of railway history as well. So it is very difficult you do have to gauge this thing, and it's not something where you can just drop everything and it's ready. It takes years of producing all of these things, so it's not a quick fix.
No, and there's a lot of demand for detail as well, and obviously the detail takes time to design and manufacture, make into tooling. So that's why these things take so much longer to come to market. So all that has to be considered, doesn't it? But I've looked at other areas that I thought maybe you can model in TT, and I thought you've got the East Coast, there obviously is the West Coast. For steam, I don't think there's really much on offer at the moment. You've got the Duchess. She's a beautiful locomotive. It's a lovely model. You can do the BR one. You can run it with the 08, the green 08, and the green 37, and you could get a Class 50 respray. But I mean, they were introduced 1967, and I think the Duchesses were gone by then. So it would be stretching it a bit, but that's probably as good as you're going to get for a steam era West Coast layout at the moment. Obviously, Hornby offer the coaches to go with. They've got the LMS period coaches painted in. They're doing the BR livery and obviously the LMS livery. But I find it difficult to try and suggest any sort of West Coast ideas. I mean, you could probably do like a more suburban route using the 122s, which I think were based around Birmingham at some point. Yeah, you sort of did around the 80s. The 50s have gone to the Western by that point, but they did run to Birmingham. So you could do something sort of New Street based, maybe not like the whole station. Like you could maybe just like do a little section. Just a couple of Mark IIs and a platform. You could have like the Swallow HST and a cross country. Use the large logo 37 on a freight train. A few of those TTAs behind it, and then use the Howden 122 for the local services. That was the best I could think of. It was tough. It was tough, and it definitely, Western modelers moaning that there isn't a pannier. I think Western modelers are a little bit better looked after than West Coast modelers, if I'm honest. When I was looking through sort of ideas for TT,
I think it depends on the era, doesn't it? I think that is the biggest.
It definitely does.
That's the biggest issue I'm seeing with what, because obviously I kind of look at TT with very much a one track mind of, is it something I can put on my layout? No, yes, and then I sort of go from there. But it's really interesting now that you've mentioned that. Whilst Birmingham's such a weird place in terms of modelling, because like you say, you are going to have some of the 50s there, and you will have 37s. I guess that's almost like a melting pot for all the different companies or different areas sort of meeting in one place, I guess.
Yeah, it is, because you'd think Birmingham would be a lot easier to model. But like you say, you would have had the likes of Moore Street and Snow Hill, where the Great Western ran into, and then this New Street where the Midland region was all using, and with the variety on offer, you think there might have been something. But yeah, it's East Coast is winning so far. it's what I can say for that. But I try to think again. I looked at the modern era and what's on offer there, and I could not quite. I mean, maybe you could just about get away with maybe sort of a line coming off the West Coast main line, but you might be able to do something like sort of Transpennine cross country, Settle Carlisle sort of themed, especially as I say, Hornby's offerings of buildings if you can get hold of them. It's always the case of trying to get hold of these things. But you've got the Class 66s. So they are probably, such a great offering from Hornby for the modern modeler. There's plenty of liveries. There's more on the way. You've got the various GBRF. I think Colas has been offered. We've got EWS coming. I think there's DB Shank has been covered. Freightliners on the way. So yeah, I think there's even sort of an earlier GBRF, which again would have been quite suitable for the suggestion of the privatisation era on the East Coast Main Line. You've got the Freightliner wagons, and Revolution obviously offering the box wagons. I can't think off the top of my head. I even have them right next to me in OO. JNAs, the JNA wagons.
Weirdly, I knew it was JNAs, but I didn't feel confident enough to say JNAs. They're so out of my comfort zone. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's JNAs, but yeah,
you got them. So you've got the option to model with the 66s and those offerings of wagons. You've got the various liveries coming out with the JNAs as well. I think you can model something quite good freight-wise. You're a bit lacking passenger-wise. We have the GBRF Class 50, which would be great for a rail tour.
Yeah.
You could use a preserved A4, the Duchess of Sutherland, which is also an offer for a steam loco on the rail tour. You can have the 50 at one end and the steam loco at the other end, if you want to do that. My other suggestion is if you're feeling brave, and again, it's all back to repainting everything. You could take that 37, you could paint it up into Network Rail. Well, maybe not Network Rail, probably one of the. It's probably actually. Do you know what? It's probably a terrible idea because thinking about it, they all got refurbished and their fronts all changed. So you might have to do a bit of modelling to it. But you could paint the whole B37 into sort of some of the Mark 1s and Mark 2s into sort of a Network Rail test train.
Yeah.
Maybe paint the 37 into like one of the Colas liveries.
What, the Colas half yellow, half orange one?
Yeah, that one. I think maybe get away with the EWS one being painted as that.
Yeah.
I think the Harry Needle locomotives all require flush front ends. But that was sort of the ideas I came up with for a modern image. And again, it's what's on offer. And I think freight-wise, if you're a modern modeler, there's plenty, and maybe like a depot or as they call them, virtual quarries. Whether they sort of exchange used ballast for old ballast in sort of old yards like a Hinksey. Modelling something like that might be more achievable because you've got the GBRF 04 GBR, that's its running number. The GBRF 08 and the DB 08. And the DB 08 that was a best Scotch shunter, I think, taken out in 2016. The GBRF one is currently in South Wales, but again, it's all that word compromise again. Just using what's available to make a layout.
Yeah, I think something as well. We've talked about the repainting side of it, but I think if you're really, I mean, I'm the kind of modeler who will spend time weathering something. I'm using time in quotation marks because James and I's time of how long we weather something for is very different. But so like running numbers on like my HST, I know it. I'm pretty sure it's a famous HST. It's not one of the like normal run of the mill ones, and I can't see the running numbers from it from just sort of sat down. But yet I know my 50s. I do have to change the running numbers on those because it's the large logo ones where it's big writing. So maybe renumbering is certainly a skill that you might want to look into because it's actually quite an easy skill, but it's taking the time to sit down and do it, I think, is the biggest problem, and it's doing it on a brand new locomotive as well.
It's off the job for the faint-hearted, is it? But again, like there are companies out there that will renumber for you. If you sort of shop around, you'll find someone that will do it for you. That's my suggestion for a modern era West Coast mainline-ish sort of Settle Carlisle, maybe something like that. But if you want to model today's railway, maybe with a bit more passenger working, I think there is something you can work with, and that's if you allow it's going to be based somewhere between Cardiff, Bristol, and the West Country. So you could use you can use it as a London set if you wanted to, but the GWR HST that's on offer, you could set that up as a castle set, which is the 2 power cars and 4 coaches. So it's a nice sized HST. I don't think the coaches are quite right because I think there should be sliding doors on them, and they're the old swing open doors. But again, that word compromise. You've got your 66s that you can have on the Freightliner wagons that are on offer, the various Freightliner wagons, and the use of the JNA wagons. You've got the liveries of Network Rail, GBRF on offer. They definitely run in that area. You can run the HST, as I say, in full formation if you wanted to. If you want to sort of backdate it a little bit, that's kind of what you can do if you want to do like a West Country. But if you want to model a longer HST, you could do somewhere between Didcot and Bath. Maybe not like Didcot and Bath themselves because they started to have other traffic in there. But if you did like Swindon during sort of the era when the HSTs were being painted into green and they were still running in their full length sets, DMU traffic was quite light. So sort of around Swindon, you'd have a 150 and I think maybe a 153 at one point. So one of them be on the Melksham shuttle going around towards Westbury, and there'd be another one on the Gloucester shuttle going off onto the Kemble line. But everything else, passenger-wise was HST. So you could get those HSTs. And I think, again, off the top of my head, I think they've gone for a celebrity HST in the GWR green with the castle logos on the side of it, if I recall, or the locomotive logo.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, that's always a bit of a... This is the problem, right? Stop picking celebrity logos because they're a lot more difficult to renumber. But, again, you can probably get one power car resprayed or swap it for buy two of the same and swap it out and sell it on or whatever. There's ways around it, and you can model sort of something like Swindon to say, and then you've got that Class 66 traffic, the various 66s and the various freight liners. There's obviously a lot of freight, aggregate freight that comes from the mended quarries that way. And as we discussed earlier, if you're feeling brave and you're happy to compromise on some of the detail differences, you could respray your 66s as 59s just to add a few more locos to the fleet.
I'm not feeling that brave.
not
quite yet.
Not there. Well, how about this? Right? So you could backdate the area to the early noughties, and you could have your HSTs, as I said, in the Swallow livery. That can provide you passenger train because that, as I say, the Swallow livery that lasted well into privatisation. You've got the EWS 66, which is coming, and this is where you can use those merry-go-round hopper wagons that Hornby offer, because that is one of the issues with when they announced it. I found it very bizarre that they going to do the MGR wagons and you hadn't really got anything to pull it. And I think Simon Kohler said, "Oh, you can shunt them with the 08," but they didn't get shunted. they were just in rakes that just went round in circles. That's why they're called merry-go-rounds. They were either at the colliery or they were at the power station. They were never shunted out of trains, sort of thing. Maybe for wagon repair, but So when even with the 66s that were in Offord, none of them pulled those wagons. So it's nice to see the EWS 66 coming because that did pull those wagons, and so you could model the Avonmouth docks to Didcot power station train.
Right. Okay.
So you've got that. You've got the EWS 37 and the BR Blue 37, which, as I said earlier, that was based at Didcot. So you've got that, and you can have them with the TTA wagons or is it the Coalfish, the EWS Coalfish? That was another wagon that was announced, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So you've got them on offer to start off with, which was just a bit of freight, which I think is quite a good option there. You've got two 37s and various wagons you can use. You've got the 66. So you've got at least 3 freight trains of various different degrees that you can run. And as I say, you've sort of got the HST as well. That's some of my suggestions for more the western region, but then we go right out west. If you wanted to do something around Cornwall, this is sort of what started off this idea of suggesting ideas, because I'll be honest, I saw those China Clay CDA wagons, and all I kept thinking of was I could model Cornwall and TT and do this and do that. So I found this the best way to not start pre-ordering stuff that I didn't need to pre-order because I've got enough projects as it is without getting very excited about another idea. So this is the idea that sort of spurred this idea for this podcast on. You could do late 2000s with those Hornby CDA wagons because you could do something like St Blazy based with the 37s.
Yeah.
With the 66 EWS. They can be working on that. You've got the TTA wagons again down there. You can use the Coalfish wagons again. They can be used in engineering trains. The Virgin Cross Country HST fits in nicely to that theme, adding the passenger service. You could also, as they were used at one point, the GNR HST, they were hired in for Saturday services to Newquay. So you've got that bit of varieties there. You could use the cross country one. You could use the GNR one. But I think a better option would be taking it back to the late 80s, early 90s, and Swallow HST. You could even use the blue and yellow or blue and grey coaches, mixing it up a bit if you wanted to have a variety in there. You've got the Class 50s.
Yeah.
You need all the Class 50s, with the blue and grey, all the Intercity Mark IIs behind it. Again, doesn't matter because some of them would have come in from Birmingham, some of them come across the Wessex line. You can have the 37 with the CDAs behind. So you've got your China Clay train, the Class 122, which is being offered in regional railways, which is the correct livery for that area. And you've got the 08. Again, you can get that. You can get it in blue. You can have that with the TTAs. So I think that one was like, that was the idea that was in my head. I was like, there's so much on offer here that you could do Cornwall with just the offering of those CDA wagons. All of a sudden gave me this great idea. You could do this, and this with those. You could have the 50s in there. You can have that Network Southeast 50 working into there because they went all the way to Penzance. And again, to finish it off, you've got the offerings of an A4 Flying Scotsman or Duchess of Sutherland on a rail tour. So, and this also lets you use the GWR buildings that Pico offered at the very start of TT, because Pico were like, here we go, have some buildings, and then I think they were expecting something Great Western from Hornby. Nothing appeared.
This region in particular is one that I think would go down a storm. This is my ignorance in regards to 37s. I only recently really became super interested in them. You keep saying about them running freight. Did they not used to run passenger services?
They did, but it was more at the tops, with the start of the tops era. So the end of, so you had the BR Blue area pre-tops, and then which is the when all the numbering system changed on the locos.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of them being a class in a type 3 of D, I don't know, whatever number they would have on the side, all the classification systems got changed and they became a class 37. And that was the tops era. I think they were used on passenger workings, sort of local passenger workings. I definitely remember having a Ladybird book with a 37 drawn on the front, pulling some coaches. I think even Hornby offered the blue 37 with blue and grey coaches as a train set. I think they ran that. Maybe I've got a feeling maybe East Anglian region. They might have been used.
Regional railways definitely had them pulling passenger services, didn't they?
They did. Yes, they did. Again, and that would fit in kind of to sort of this area. If you wanted to squeeze that in, regional railways. I mean, you obviously have to get repainted regional railways. That might be a challenge. But yeah, they were, but they were definitely they were mixed traffic.
Okay, cool.
So, I guess
it's because you kept mentioning them as being being freight trains. I was like, I just need to double check. I'm pretty sure, but it's more because of the large logo ones didn't necessarily always pull passenger services, I guess.
Well, they did, and that's a suggestion I got for a little bit later.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I've got you covered there. I've got you covered with
Excellent.
the Great West. With the Class 37 on passenger services. But yeah, this was the idea to me, the Cornwall idea, and I've been really fighting the urge to order the CDAs to model something like that. And the only reason I haven't is because I have the Port of Par twins on order, and I was like, well, if I'm going to do Cornwall, I might as well model something based on them, Cornish locos. But yeah, I might stick to my original idea, which I was thinking of. But you know me, my many projects that never get finished. So this was a much better way to just get it out of my system.
That's fine. I thought I'd ask the question because it intrigued me, because I was like, oh, this is something where I genuinely don't know if I've missed something or something like that. So that's good to know. Carry on.
No, they did. Right. I won't say it's the best to last because there's one more region that we can go to, but let's go to your home. Let's go to the Southern.
Just very quickly, we obviously haven't discussed Western Region steam.
There's a reason for that.
I feel like we need to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, yes, but you're right. Yeah, there is no Western Region steam. There's nothing on offer for the Western Region steam modeler at the moment, which I say it does surprise me. It really does surprise me. I don't know, maybe it's a Western biased, but the Pannier, I felt that would be a winner. Because back in the 70s and the 80s, the branch line terminus layout was like they were everywhere. You couldn't go to an exhibition without turning around and seeing one. Everyone had one, and I just would have thought something great. Maybe a Prairie or a Pannier, and then a B set of coaches. the towed brake van, you're already covered for other wagons, and you've got yourself a nice little Great Western branch line that you can model. And obviously, Great Western had loads of branch lines.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know why manufacturers are. I'm sure they will, but
I'm not trying to poke the bear.
I would have thought, because I would have thought people would dive in on that. Would dive in. Not sure about TT, but go on. I'll buy the pannier and I'll have a go at building a branch line. See if I like the scale or not.
Well, because it also seems like the branch line, whether it's a terminus, whether it's a yard or something like that, it seems like the branch line is the quintessential, if you're going to start there. And we've already said that after the '08, the pannier was actually the most numerous locomotive on the British network, right?
Yeah, that's it.
It seems like a very weird choice to me. So I don't know if there's some sort of manufacturing conundrum.
I don't know. It's not even like, you go, well, maybe they were sort of seeing of the other manufacturers, because Hornby were the only one at the time that were manufacturing TT. So I don't know. Obviously, we've discussed this before, and they have their reasons for why they've gone for certain locos. It's just, it always seemed a bit. If I were to do it, I would have done as I said, I probably would have done that range of Great Western stuff, and I probably would have done a mid-size BR standard loco, and like the '08 as the shunter, and then offered them out because they've got potential, and then throw in a DMU, and you've got lots of potential for lots of different regions, sort of covered by just a handful of locos that can sort of go everywhere. But we don't. What we do, we're talking about what is on offer. So
I've poked the bear, guys. I've poked it.
And we'll go to the Southern, because obviously the Southern is on offer in the shape of Stroudley's beautiful Terrier, being offered in improved engine green and the Southern livery and BR black. And so you've got the four-wheel coaches as well, Stroudley's four-wheel coaches, and the offerings of wagons. So there's potential there, and I think probably the best option is probably Isle of Wight. I think the Southern Terrier that's been offered is an Isle of Wight Terrier, off the top of my head. The BR black one is Stepney. So that's Stepney's running number, but it's just black, and then obviously the Stroudley one is Brighton. So there's not an option. Maybe you could do like a little London Brighton branch line if you fancied it, but the Isle of Wight is a better offering, because Pico also are offering Isle of Wight based buildings in their laser cut range.
Yeah.
So you've got that, you've got the coaches, you've got the wagons. All that's missing, brake van. Need a brake van. But that's definitely one that can be offered. It's not, an Isle of Wight terminus. You maybe base it on like Yarmouth, something like that. I don't think it would be too big. You can sort of work with it, and that could be a good way to start in to sort of modelling. And again, that's why I'm sort of saying about the Great Western branch. I was surprised they go Great Western, but the Southern have come in and stepped up, and they're offering us a Terrier, and you've got that potential there. So yeah, you've got that. There's the West of England main line with the Class 50s. You wanted to do something a bit more modern, sort of around the 1980s. You've got the 50s and the Mark IIs. You can do lots of trains like that. It was a double track main line that got singled in most places. So you've got that potential of having like a passing loop, or having the train wait at the signal, waiting for it to clear by another one. You can again use the 37s with the TTAs. So yeah, I mean, that one would just need a 33 and some Network Southeast coaches to. Yeah.
That would be the dream.
I knew you'd like that. But yeah, I think that's what you'd really need if you wanted to do the West of England main line, 50s, 37s, 33. I think the 47s as well. Obviously, they came in a little bit later. Network Southeast coaches, you'd be covered there. You could probably model something quite nice. Obviously, there's what you're doing for Southern. And I've had I don't know if you want to talk about it. It's quite interesting, the project you had in mind of how to cover your lack of electric multiple units. But I don't know if you were willing to talk about that yet.
Yeah, no, we can, because I feel like it is definitely, obviously the glaring oddity is that I'm a big EMU modeler, and I've gone to a scale where there's no EMUs. That there is a project that, as James has said, I am looking to undertake, and with the insane offers that are out there at the moment for HSTs, it would be silly not to take some of the shops up on it. So you can pretty much get a Mark III coach at the moment for I think one of the online retailers are selling the Mark III coaches at £20 each, which when they were selling them for £50 ish, brand new when they came out, is a disgusting deal. And you can do, it's not one of the sort of the quintessential EMUs that you'd see on your day-to-day run. That's something that I need to address further down the line. But you could do a class 442 if you're willing to take a giant leap and do a cut and shut, which is a project that I'm effectively undertaking at the moment. The wheels on the HST power cars are roughly the same size as the HST coach bogies. So I have a current plan that has involved me having to cut up the driving car or the power car from a HST set. So far, it's going okay if I hadn't lost some of the pieces that I need for it. So if anyone's got a HST power car in TT, I'm currently on the hunt for some bits. It's a little bit like when we have Danny and Max on and we talk about how there are some things where you do need to effectively decide that, you know what, I think I need to make this myself. And I think with the fact that Mark 1 coaches and the Mark 3 coaches are so cheap at the moment, in TT, if you're willing to do it, you have a look into 3D printing or maybe scratch building if that's your kind of thing. It's not mine. Then you could have a look at doing your electric multiple units running out of Waterloo. The biggest problem you're going to find at the moment is trying to find a way of powering the coaches so that they're propelled without the use of a loco. The HST is the best candidate for that simply because it is a Bobo wheel arrangement, whereas the 50, which is the other loco that you could possibly use, is a Coco. Am I saying that right? Yep. Yes, I am. So what we ideally need is a 2-axle loco to come out in diesel form to really sort of get the ball rolling on this. But my plan is that I want a 442. It's not available in 00 at the moment, and it's certainly not available in TT. But because of what's available at a good price, you can effectively make one. So that's my current plan of what I want to do, and it will hopefully start making my layout feel a little bit more London to Waterloo-ish. And that's not to say that the 47s, the 50s, and the 33s weren't running out of there pulling coaching stock. That's still a thing. But I think for where I'm modelling, especially Southern region, electrified third rail, like you kind of do need some EMUs to run in there, and until one of the manufacturers decides to start bringing out some DMUs, you are going to struggle with sort of powering those units. So I'm really hoping for a class 150 to come out by one of the manufacturers, because that would massively help me with projects for EMUs. But that's my current plan, and I think especially if you're modeling Southern in this particular era, you are going to have a look at either making compromises or doing some cut and shuts on locos and coaches.
Yeah, but that again, that's an option that's out there, and that's if you're feeling a lot more brave, isn't it? You know, and willing not just to do the repaints, but to do a bit of cut and shut as well. There's a little bit more potential models that you can have. So, yeah. I liked it. When you said you were doing the old plastic pigs, I thought that's great. That's brilliant. Because to me, it didn't seem like that would be the most difficult conversion in the world to complete, to get a couple of EMUs on your layout.
Yeah, it's the thing of there's the least amount of cutting and shutting that you need to do, and I think is the thing that swayed me more to it, because although we've got loads of Mark 1 coaches, I spoke with Danny, and a lot of the Mark 1 EMU stock doesn't use the same sides as the Mark 1 coaches that we already have. So you'd effectively need to almost 3D print the entire body shell of the coaches, because the window alignments don't match up with EMUs that we have. And the only EMU that does use those alignments is a 40C, which is an un unpowered unit anyway, so you're kind of stuck. So it would still have to be push pulled by a loco anyway. But visually,
we still need that 33 then. Yeah.
yeah, but basically, I really need a 33 or a 73. I mean, I've got that thing of that Hornby, when they made their initial announcement, they listed certain things such as the 47 and the 73 that were going to be things that came out eventually. And I've got that sort of like holding on hope. How far along the line they are, we don't know. They haven't been announced yet. So
yeah, that list slipped a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it should be a Great Western Castle and Pannier by now, but
and also you're looking at the fact that there's a lot of rolling stock on there that they haven't announced. I mean, I'm going to be happy for a while with. I've got the joy of I've got a 12-lane fiddle yard, and I'm struggling. Rolling stock's not really my problem in terms of like the coaches. It's the locos that I'm struggling with. I've got a HST in one. I've got a 50 with Mark IIs in on the other. So effectively, I'm only running one of each line, if that makes sense. So I'm at a point where I don't need to rush for things, or I don't need things to come out, but I am at that point where my O8 is a little bit slow. It takes a very long time for the O8 with the tankers to sort of do one lap of the loft, whereas the HST is booting it all the way around the loft.
That's the way it should be.
I mean, yes, it would, but you also wouldn't necessarily see the O8 with the tankers running up and down the Waterloo main line. I guess that's the problem.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, they did. I've been told stories where the O8 that used to be based at Didcot would have to go back to Reading every now and again, and so they'd try and put it out. And I've heard about Signalman that mistakenly put it on the main line rather than the relief line.
That does sound amazing.
And you can do 15 mile an hour. That's a painful watch.
I think the thing is that I'm struggling for locos, and I love 50s, but I was going to repaint one into Network Southeast, and then Hornby announced over the summer that they're going to do a Network Southeast one. So effectively, that'll be my third 50, and I don't need any more than that across 12 lines, if that makes sense. I'm trying to water down what I'm doing and plan for the future kind of thing. So effectively, I've got the 37 coming out, which I will swap for the 08. So that will pull tankers. I'll buy more tankers. So there'll be a nice long freight train. And I'm just trying to sort of think about what I can put on there. And I guess because I've got such an empty fiddle yard, I'm kind of like, I need to fill it up. But actually, I can. What's actually quite nice is literally today I fixed an issue with my HST where the coaches on the HST are not as free rolling as the Mark 1s and the Mark 2s. And I can't remember if we talked about this or not. So apologies if I've said this already. And what that meant is that the drag on it trying to go up the incline is really bad. Whereas it's so bad, in fact, that if you put a HST coach on the incline with no power car, they don't roll down the incline.
Oh.
which considering I've got a 2% incline, it's quite bad. Yet you put one of the Mark 1s or the Mark 2s, they free roll and they go straight down that straight incline. They go round the corner and then they zoom almost fully along the fiddle yard. So they're effectively doing, let's say that's 10 foot on. Yeah, about 20 foot of track. Yet the HST Mark 3s won't free roll. They will literally stay still on a slope. And the problem was that having the HST going up the incline, although the incline is only a 2%, it struggled to go up the incline anything other than a 60 on my controller, which is, I'd say, going quite fast. So today I took the dummy car is quite heavy as well. So I took quite a lot of the weights out of that. And now I can slow run my HST up the incline. But it would be better if I was able to use an axle reamer to free up those axles a little bit and make them a little bit more free rolling. But that's a completely different thing.
Well, I'm sure someone will make one eventually.
Yeah, DCC Concepts, if you're listening.
Get this scale popular, haven't you? So
exactly.
So yeah, but we've got one more region to cover before we draw a conclusion, and that's Scotland. This is. I mean, one of the ideas that is in my head, and I had to really, as I say, fight that urge to do Cornwall. So we talked about East Coast Main Line and what's on offer there. And if you wanted to, you could probably do something based around Edinburgh. You could have the Deltics. You could use the 122. Again, end of the life of the Delwicks, you could have the Delwicks and the HST. I don't think the Delwicks and the HSTs were in Edinburgh at the same time. I don't know. And again, compromise. It's just getting what you can in there. But you could look at the far-flung lines of Scotland. So, like, potential for the West Highland line. This is the idea I've got. I've bought a few bits, and I think I will do something very small based around it. And like you say, you don't need to buy loads of rolling stock, especially when you've got like a small idea, which is, again, going back to that, I don't know why they didn't do lots of small engines, because if you're going to dip your toe in TT, you probably just want to build something small first, not dive into a 4-track mainline like Sam. But
some people aren't as loopy as I am.
That's it. So mine is obviously with the forthcoming Class 37. We've got Mark II coaches. You could have like 3 of them behind the 37. You can even have like TTA wagons on the back of it. And you could do something West Highland based. The Class 122, they were Scottish based at one point. One of them was kept as a Sandite, so you have it in the blue and grey livery. You can. It just needs a little bit of amending, and it can be the Sandite train that was used in the 80s. We've got the Class 08 that can be used for shunting in the sidings. So you could do something like Fort William-ish based. Have a station on the quay, so you could like model the harbour and have the train coming there. You can run around the coaches, sort out the TTA wagons, or have the 08 sorting them out. You can even paint the 08 up as a private shunter, so it's like taking the vans away, taking the tanks away. I think there are vans eventually coming from Hornby that will hopefully sort of meet that speed link. But that's sort of the suggestions I sort of got for Scotland. Not many, but there's a potential there. And obviously the most obvious one I think right now is Heritage Railway. It's probably the easiest thing to model in TT.
It kind of feels like a no-brainer, right? It feels like if you wanted to model something, you pick a Heritage Railway or make a fictional one, and then you just go with it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just put them in there. I mean, I've been also toying with the idea of let's just do it. Let's just talk Thomas, a potential Thomas, because I'm sure Hornby have done this on purpose. There's all the potential to make the engines. Obviously, you've got the L8 to make diesel, the J50, which was what Thomas was supposed to be. I mean, you can paint that one up blue and put it with a couple of Stroudley coaches, and you got Annie and Clarabelle. And I'm sure someone will 3D print something eventually to go on that chassis. Again, with the 040 in the train set that's due, the Southern one. I'm completely missed that loco, actually. Going back to the Southern, you could use that loco as another loco on the Isle of Wight if you wanted an additional loco. Sort of that design. And this actually reminds me, because I told you in a text message, there was another idea that I thought about and then I forgot, and then it's come back to me. And that is that 040, because it's been offered in industrial livery as well, isn't it?
It has.
A B4, I think, a Southern B4 off the top of my head. XL and WR loco. Yeah, you could just model a small industrial line, maybe like a brewery or something, and a few sidings there. And if you wanted to have dip your toe in TT, buy that loco, a couple of wagons, and you could do like a little brewery, Inglewood puzzle shunting puzzle, if you wanted to, just to have a go in the scale. So I'm glad we did that, because that popped back in my head, and that was the one I was trying to think of. But yeah, Heritage Line's obviously the most no-brainer one, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, the almost the rule one railway, where you are effectively do what you want. You run the kind of layout that you want. I mean, now that it's sat in front of me, like, I've obviously gone completely bonkers and done a big L-shaped dog bone layout with 2 levels and all that sort of stuff. And I'm trying to make this my big layout. I'm trying to make this like the complex but interesting thing that I can work on over the next 20 years, hopefully. Having it in front of me, what you can do, and I'm repeating what I've already said, but apologies. What you could do with just a dog bone layout, just on one wall in my loft, I'd, even if I used that and just freed up all the space and made like a gaming setup or something like that, if I really wanted to, what you can do in the scale that you have, to me, it feels like a no-brainer. I feel like it's the perfect scale for the tail chaser layout right now. I'm not saying that a little shunting diorama doesn't work, because it does, but obviously the problem we're lacking is the small locos, like James said. But you could easily build a fictional area, time zone. You could be a time traveling layout if you really wanted it to, but you could do so much by having a couple of lines that you can switch points to and just have some nice long locos, whether it's 5 more or whatever. You could just fly them around on a layout and you pick your era, your region. And I think you could do something. Hopefully in the next 5 years, we'll come back to this topic and we'll be able to go, well, actually, now you can do this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'd be nice to return to this and see what ideas you can expand on and what other ideas may be possible. I'm sure that there'll be a lot more. But yeah, that's just a range of ideas that sort of we thought about and sort of come up with to suggest. The TT, I think, has potential and is here to stay. And here we are. We've probably been talking about an hour and a half about all the different ideas of what you can currently model with what's being offered or to be offered. It's definitely got legs, I'd say.
Yeah.
Or wheels, I suppose.
Yeah, just not the Mark IIIs. If you want something that's free rolling, not the Mark IIIs.
They've definitely got legs.
They got wooden blocks.
Call me old square wheels. Yeah.
There we go. There's another one.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that wraps it up quite nicely. Unless you have anything more to say on the subject.
To be honest, mate, I could go on and on and on. All I will say is that if you're looking to get yourself a little bargain and you're unsure about what to do in TT, have a look at Rails, have a look at TMC. I know there are other shops out there, but nobody's doing this good a deal on TT sets at the moment. If you're unsure about what you want to do, but you're interested in TT, you can pick up the track packs for, I think they're about £50 at the moment at the time of recording. So you get the Hornby controller and the loop of track that you would get in the train set. And especially if the A4s and the A3s and the HST aren't your thing, but you do want to do something in TT, that's a good option to start with now, especially if you're impatient and you don't want to wait for that little southern Steam logo to come out. But that would certainly give you a good basis of where you could start. And you can pretty much run Mark 1s anywhere in the country. So you can pick up the Mark 1s for really cheap at the moment. TMC are doing some insane deals for, I think they're doing 3, 6, 7, and 8 coach rakes that you can buy for Mark 1 coaches. So if you're looking to get started in TT, there is definitely a good starting base that you can do. I'd say you could easily work on something big in a 4-foot depth. However long you want to make the layout is completely up to you. But there's so much you could do with such a small space. So it's definitely one to think about if you prefer a tail chaser, and space has always been a problem for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can even squeeze those curves into 3-foot. I think that's kind of what we've got at the moment for Lenny for his TT, because until we build him a proper layout, we've just got some foam board and just glued it together, and then just taken the track from the train set, just laid it down and built us a nice little tail chaser, a couple of sidings on it, keeps them entertained, and that's no wider than 3-foot, even smaller, I think. So
easy. I'm talking about it from the point of view I've got up to 6th radius curves, and part of the distance from the wall is lost because I've got the fiddle yard sidings that come out of it. So yeah, completely agree with James.
Yeah,
you could do it in even smaller. I think 3, maybe 2.5 foot on 3rd radius curves. You'd easily be able to get that in, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely squeeze it in there. Cool. Right, let's take a break and get the exhibition diary open.
You there? Oh, me? Do you like model railways? Yes, that's why I'm listening to the Model Rail Replacement podcast. Do you like comedy? No, that's why I'm listening to the Model Rail Replacement podcast. If you like model railways and comedy, head over to BuggleskellyStation.com. From Dad's Army to Will Hay, Laurel and Hardy to the island of Sodor. Add a comedy cameo to your model railway today. All right, thanks. Buggleskelly Station. You won't be wasting your time.
Well, there we go. That was a nice little chat about TT. Hopefully that will keep me satisfied for the rest of the series and we don't need to go back to it, all right?
I'm never satisfied.
Darn it. But yeah, you know what? If some people walk away with, listening to those ideas and it sort of conjures up something that they think they may want to have a go at it, then it was not done in vain, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I think you. We said this off recording, but I think you came up with some lovely ideas, and it's nice that you came up with the ideas rather than me just sort of saying, "I really want a class 33" over and over again. Like you actually came at it logically, rather than me just sort of waffling on about why I like TT and stuff like that. So I thought it was really nice. So thanks for doing it so early in the season.
Well, that's all right. It was. I had thought about doing it as a YouTube video, you see, and just being selfish and keeping it on my channel. But then I was like, do you know what? Let's talk about it on the podcast. Yeah, probably gets better reach than my channel these days, I'd imagine. So there we are. So no one watches my videos, I find, unless I go to an exhibition. I keep looking at the analytics. So, don't know why I bother making anything. So there we go. Right. Should we get the exhibition diary out, talking of exhibitions?
Yeah, what we got coming up?
Well, it's the coming weekend, Saturday the 13th of September. And we're going to start off in Cambridge with the 31A Cambridge Model Railway Club, their Rail X East Model Railway Exhibition. And this is at the Cambridge Regional College, Cambridge campus in King's Hedges Road, Cambridgeshire. How many more times can I get the word Cambridge in there? None, because we're done. We're moving on to Olney Model Railway Club. I think this is a first this year. It's going to be a very small one. I remember Olney used to have a lovely little model shop many years ago. That's long gone. Annual Model Railway Exhibition, they say. So I don't recall seeing it last year, but the Olney Centre, High Street, in Olney, Buckinghamshire. The Romley Methodist Railway Modellers, the Romley Model Railway Exhibition at Romley Methodist Church, 77 Stockport Road, Romley in Stockport, Greater Manchester. The 7th to 12th Croydon Scout Group at South Croydon Model Railway Show, St Paul's United Reformed Church Halls at Croman Park Avenue, South Croydon, Surrey. The West Midlands Narrow Gauge Group, September monthly meeting. That's at their usual spot for Oaks Methodist Church Hall, 155 Lynchfield Road in Sutton Coldfield, West Midlands. Also the 13th Telford Railway Modellers Group Model Railway Exhibition at the Chiltern School Sports Hall in Appleby Avenue in Telford, Shropshire. West Bromwich Rail Model Club is having a club open day at Unit 1, Albert Street in Wendesbury, West Midlands. The Model Bus Federation is having a workshop model transport exhibition. The Crossing Church and Centre, Newcastle Street and Workshop, Nottinghamshire. All weekend, the 13th and the 14th, is the Faversham Model Railway Club and the Faversham Model Railway Exhibition. This is the Abbey School, London Road in Faversham, Kent. Also, all weekend, the Meriden Exhibitions is the International Engage Show. If you're an Engage modeler, this is the show to go to. It's the Warwickshire, even if you're not an Engage modeler, actually, it's just there's some brilliant layouts there. Warwickshire Event Centre in the Foss Way, Leamington Spa, Warwickshire. Lee Model Railway Society all weekend. It's having the Lee Festival of Model Railways and Transport Modelling. This is the Lee Sports Village Leisure Centre in Sale Way, Lee, Greater Manchester. Darlington Model Railway Club 2025 Model Railway Exhibition all weekend. The Oakleaf Sports Complex in School Aycliffe Lane in Newton Aycliffe, Durham. There's the Rushden Historical Transport Society Model Weekend at Rushden Transport Museum Station Approach at John Clark Way in Rushden, Northamptonshire. There's the White Aviation Museum Model Fest at White Aviation Museum in Scotchelsbrook Lane in Sandown, Isle of Wight. Swansea Railway Modeller Group, Swansea Railway Model Exhibition. This is the Swansea Leisure Centre, Oystermouth Road in Swansea, Swansea. These are all weekend. Just for Sunday the 14th then is Bellingham Railway Modellers Club Open Day Exhibition at Monksty Community Centre at Matlock Gardens in Bellingham, Cleveland. There's the Halesworth to South Wold Narrow Gauge Railway Society's Blythburgh Model Railway Exhibition and Open Day at Blythburgh Village Hall in London Road, Blythburgh, Suffolk. Oxford and District Model Railway Club. They asked us to give them a special shout out as well, to make sure it was in the exhibition diary. Our friend Tom will be there, and I suspect Laurie will be there because I saw him there last year, loitering about. I heard rumour he might be coming on this podcast as well, but we'll see about that. Edwardfield Primary School in Bicester Road, Killington, Oxfordshire. And that is all for this coming weekend.
Do you know what? I really miss the Crawley Croydon signal box. I feel like I haven't heard it for so long.
Let's have a look. Is It's outrageous. It's maybe we missed it. No, there it is. You'll have to wait until Saturday, the 27th of September.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I can rest easy again.
I don't know why that always gets in there. There we go.
Do you know what? There's some things that I just really miss: pumpkin spice lattes and the Crawley signal box.
Well, lucky for you, both are on the way.
Oh, my phone has been telling me.
So there we are. Right then, we abandoned Call Attention Corner. We've got nothing to replace it. Sam said he didn't want to do anything like that anymore. He just had enough, and he said, "Let's just do our social media shout outs and bugger off."
Yes.
So, how do they find you?
If you want to find me,
Steve didn't do that last week. That's a kick in the teeth for Steve.
I did. I was listening to it. I was like, well, I guess Steve doesn't want to be found in the future then.
yeah. I'll do it for him. Steve, if you want to find Steve, who hosted last week, if you like Steve last week hosting, let us know what you thought about having guest hosts, because quite frankly, me and Sam got quite burnt out last season. So we are considering having guest hosts. So yeah, let us know what you thought of it. And if you like Steve and you liked his stuff, you want to see more, go find him. He's the British Railroader on YouTube. He does some other Instagram stuff. He's not really there. Just go see him on YouTube. That's the important thing to him. Sam, how about you?
Sometimes you do some things that just really tickle me. But if you want to get hold of me, you can find me on Instagram at emperors_path. Alternatively, you can find me on YouTube at Emperors Path. Currently producing at least one video a month that I can guarantee you. That'll die out quite quickly though. So just be prepared. Yeah. And I'm on Facebook, but I don't really respond to many things on there. So yeah. James, how can we find you?
Yeah, well, I am on YouTube, and if you want to see my Rail 200 build, episodes are popping up weekly at the moment. So I think there's one more left. I just actually need to stitch it together and put it on YouTube to be loaded up. Yeah, and you can find that at Western Signalman. On Instagram as Western Signalman. I don't really put anything on there, to be honest. I just loiter about on that. And yeah, that's about it. But Model Rail Replacement Podcast is on Instagram. We don't really put much on there either. We're also on Facebook. We don't really put much there on either. We're on YouTube. We don't really put much there on either. We're useless, really, but you can find us on Spotify, so that's a good thing. Alternatively, if you want to contact us, it's modelrailrp@outlook.com. That's all for this week then. Hopefully we've been entertaining, informative, and have replaced your model railway, if only just for a little bit. I've been James, and with me has been Sam. Thanks for listening.
This service terminates here. Please ensure you take all of your personal belongings with you.
Hello, listeners. We've got some very exciting news. Do you want to be part of the podcast? Do you want to join the team? Well, an exciting opportunity has come up to allow you to be part of the Model Rail Replacement Podcast. And here's Sam with the details.
This episode is brought to you by Patreon. A huge thank you to our Patreons for their support. If you'd like to help support the show, you can head over to Patreon and search Model Rail Replacement Podcast, where you can show your support and be part of the team.
Hurry, there's unlimited places.